Boker Tov, good morning. Masechet Yoma Daf Kavdaled Amud Aleph 24a1. We're just mentioning now that Rabbi Dosa said that he wanted to say that a Kohen Idiot is able to use the Bigdei Lavan, the white clothing of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippurim. And this goes according to his reasoning about how does he learn the words V'nicham Sham. It says in the Torah, Ufashat Bigdei Abada Shalavash V'Ola Kodesh, V'nicham Sham. What does it mean, V'nicham Sham? That he has to place it there or leave it there, right? It says over there, he leaves it there, right? He says, Melamed Sheteunin Genizah. You learn from here the Bigdei Lavan, they need Genizah, meaning after he already used it. So again, remember, the Kohen Gadol uses the white clothing. After using the white clothing on Kippur, you need Genizah. Nobody's allowed to use it. However, though, Rabbi Dosa says, no, Reuyin leKohen Idiot. A Kohen Idiot could use it all year round. So then, Mata Mulamar V'nicham Sham. What does it mean, Lo Yinicham Sham? Shelo Yishtamesh B'en Yom Kippurim Acher. That they can't use it for another Kippur. Meaning, you cannot be using it for another Kippur, but it could be used for a regular Kohen Idiot throughout the entire year. That is the Shita of Rabbi Dosa. Okay? Fine. So says the Gemara, Maila Baka Mipalge. Are you not going to tell me that the machloke? What's the machloke between them? Whether you have to put it in Genizah or another regular Kohen can use it. So he says, Maila Baka Mipalge. The more savar avodahi or more savar lav avodahi. That one of them holds that it's considered an avodah, meaning the Tumat Deshen is considered an avodah, and the other one holds that it's not considered an avodah, which, if you remember, was the machloka between Rabbi Yochanan and the Shakish, which means, according to Rabbi Yehuda, when he says yilbash, right, which is on the Kohen, which is coming on, it's an avodah, because he has to put on the floor clothing. But according to Rabbi Dosa, it's not an avodah. So says the Gemara, no, that's not the machloka between them. According to everybody, that the Sotzad Deshen is considered an avodah, the Tumat Deshen and everything. So what is the machloka between them? Mor savar tzicha kra lerebuye. According to Rabbi Yehuda, he says that we need an extra pasuk, a source, right, in order to add whether it's the hat and the belt, right, because from the word yilbash, in order to say that it's an avodah. Mor savar lo tzicha kra lerebuye. The other one says you don't need a pasuk to do it, which means like this. If you remember, we mentioned that in the Torah it was only written michnaseh bad, and right, we said midovad michnaseh bad, the michnasayim and the checkered shirt, right, the ketonet. So now the michnasayim and ketonet is only 2 out of the 4. It was missing the mitznefet, the avnet, the hat, and the belt. So there was a machloket. Do you need only 2, or do you need all 4 of the clothing? So one number said, if it's an avodah, we've never found an avodah that only needs 2. For a Kohen Idiot, only Kohen Idiot. Yes, Kohen Idiot. Because remember, Kohen Gadol is 8. Is 8. But the Kohen Idiot, the Kohen Gadol, which is 8, are Bigdei Zahav, not Bigdei Lavan. Because Bigdei Lavan of the Kohen Gadol is also only 4. And that's why 4 also. Also only 4.
So really, only Yom Kippur use the 8?
No, there was other times that he was able to use Bigdei Zahav. On Yom Kippur, he used both. On Yom Kippur, anything which was done in the Kodesh Kodashim was Bigdei Lavan. Anything which was done, no, exactly, 4. When you go in the Kodesh Kodashim.
Wow.
And the reason why, why, right? En kategor nase sanegor. The kategor was the big zahav, egel zahav. That cannot become a sanegor on Yom Kippur in the Kodesh Kodashim. So because of that, in the Kodesh Kodashim, Bigdei Lavan. But when he was outside, Bigdei Zahav. So the Bigdei Zahav, the Kohen Gadol was always able to put on the Bigdei Zahav. But just Bigdei Lavan was that he's going inside, and that's what we say, that the Ikar Avodato of Yom Kippurim be Bigdei Lavan. That's the Ikar, because everything that's being done in the Kodesh Kodashim, which that's only Yom Kippur.
He was going just for a few minutes, isn't it?
In the Kodesh Kodashim?
Yeah.
No, he was going a few times back, but it was not in one shot. It was back and forth. It was in and out, in and out. No. If you remember, he changes his clothing between Bigdei Zahav and Bigdei Lavan 5 times. He does 5 tevilot. Every single time he does tevilah, he changes his clothing. And 10 times Kiddush Yadayim Raglayim. The whole day. Meaning the whole Kippur, he's going 5 times in the Kodesh Kodashim.
Is he starting that first time he go in is from ahead of Yom Kippur?
No. Only in Kippur. Only in Kippur itself.
The
day of Kippur. Yeah. But early in the morning, if you remember. We saw already from Chatzot.
Yeah. 5 times.
5 times.
Until the end of
Kippur. 5 times.
And
Every single time
goes,
he changes his clothing from zahav to lavan, lavan zahav. That's why it's every 5 tevilot.
But does he go with the glass zahav or no?
He never goes inside with the zahav. Never.
Only
never.
with white.
Only big lavan.
5 times.
5 times he changes his clothing.
The same white clothing or he
same white clothing.
5
same
times,
white clothing.
Change it.
Exactly. And same big zahav also.
How long time you go every time? Do we have? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't think it doesn't say a specific time. It
Doesn't
does sound very quick. It is quick. It's quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quick.
People used to die and used to throw them with
Right, but that was in the second Beit HaMikdash.
Yeah, I know.
These two. You know they did that to the Baba Sali. You know they
Why
did that
would
to the
they
Baba
buy
Sali.
that kahuna? Why would they buy that if they know they're going to die?
Kavod. Exactly. Kavod. You know they did that to the Baba Sali. You guys heard the story, no? Of Baba Sali. The Arizal HaKadosh, the Bet Knesset of the Arizal HaKadosh, nobody was able to go inside. Because if they would go inside, they would die. So Baba Sali came and he wanted to go inside. Shamash didn't want to let him. He said, I'm sorry, I'm not letting you inside. He said, no, you're good. What did they do? They tied a rope around him. So that way, if Chas Shalom, something happens, they're able to pull him out. He went in, yeah, he did, whatever he needed to do. He came out and he told them now everybody could come.
Wow.
And they opened it up to the public. Yeah, that was, yeah, he was able to, but think about it. Nobody was able to go in.
Miracles were so incredible.
Yeah, there was Baba Sali. Yeah.
Like this in our generation.
100%. Okay. Next. So we said over here, by Rabbi Avin. Rabbi Avin comes and he asks a question. Trumat Adeshem Bekama. How much efer do you need on the Mizbeach to do the mitzvah of Trumat Adeshem? So says the Gemara, Mitrumat Maaser Yalfinala, or Mitrumat Midyan Yalfinala. Do we learn it from Trumat Maaser, which is obviously going to be a 10th, okay? Or Mitrumat Midyan Yalfinala, or do we learn from Trumat Midyan, which is 1/500th? Meaning, remember like this. Remember, there's Maaser. Maaser, right, is going to be Maaser is going to be 10%. It goes to the Levim, okay? That's what we call Maaser Rishon. Then there's something which is called Trumat Maaser. What is Trumat Maaser? The Levi gives a 10% from the 10%. So for example, if I'm a regular Jew, right, and I come and I need to give Trumot Maasrot. So the first thing is Trumah Gdolah. That's something different. That goes to the Kohen. After the Trumah Gdolah, which is 1/50th or whatever it is, we come, or even a little bit, and that's already enough. I mean, a Torah. So after that, what we do is Maaser. So I come and I take 10%. So let's say I have 100. I'm going to take 10. I give it to the Mr. Levi over here. I give it to Mr. Levi. Now he has to give off Trumat Maaser. What is Trumat Maaser? Maaser mina Maaser. A 10th of that. So if I give him 10, which is Maaser, he takes off that 1 and he gives it out to the Kohen. So that's Maaser mina Maaser. After that, we have whether it's going to be, we have Maaser Sheni or Maaser Ani, which is another 10%. And then it all depends. On years 3 and 6, it's Maaser Ani. So you're going to give Maaser to the Anim. On years 1, 2, 4, 5, the second 10% is going to be taken the fruit, and you take it up to Yerushalayim and you eat it there. If you can't eat the fruit, right, meaning that it's going to spoil or whatever it is, you redeem it. You add a 5th to the value, and when you add a 5th to the value, you take that money to Eretz Yisrael, to Yerushalayim, you buy food there, and that's where you're going to have your, your shawarma and lafa and all those things, right, when you're in Eretz Yisrael, when you're in Yerushalayim. Okay? So that's called Maaser Sheni, and then there's Maaser Ani. So that's like another 10%. So basically, it's going to become 20%. Okay? So the Gemara says, Trumat Adeshen, do we learn it from Trumat Maaser? So it's going to be the 10, or the 10%, or do we say over here, yeah, he says over here, or are we going to say, no, that it's 1/500, because that's Trumat Midyan. So says the Gemara Tashema, we're going to bring a proof. The Tanya Bechia taught, Ne'emar Kan, it's written over here, Veherim et Adeshen, Ne'emar le'ahalan, and it's written over there, Veherim mimenu bekumtso. So they're making Gzira Shava. Veherim. Ma le'ahalan, just like by the comets. Ma le'ahalan, just like over there, the K'mitzav, the Minchav, the Shiur is Melo kumtso. So 2 years, kumtso, right? So it's the Shiur of a comet. So you take a comet, right? Remember when you're doing the comets, right? How you're taking it, right? With the palmful, yeah. And what you're doing is you're putting in your palmful, and that's what's going to be of the deshen, okay, of the ashes. Okay, so now it says
Very little.
yeah, it's very little. It's hardly anything. Yeah.
Can you imagine a guy have a little hand?
Yeah, it's true, 100%. So now the Gemara says like this. So Amar Rav comes and he says, Arba avodot, right? When we're talking about four different types of avodot, zar chayav alehen mitah. So on four different types of services, if a stranger is going to do it, right? He's going to be chayav mitah bidei shamayim. What are those four? Zrika, sprinkling of the blood. Yeah, haktara, right? Offering the comments of the menachot. Nisuch hamayim. Yeah, what is nisuch hamayim? The water libations. Nisuch hayayin, wine libations. Levi says even trumat deshen, and also Levi taught b'matniteh trumat deshen. My tamad Rav, what's the reasoning of Rav? Dichtiv, as it says in a pasuk, ve'ata uvanecha yitecha tishmenu kunatchem l'dvar chol davar hamizbeach v'mevela paroch v'avatem. Avodat matana eten kunatchem v'azara karev yumat. So here it's saying that there's a chiyuv mitah, death penalty, right? It's brought down that there's going to be a death penalty for a zar that is doing avodat kohanim. Now it says avodat matana velo avodat siluk. What does that mean, avodat matana and not siluk? So according to that, that's why he's saying that all these things are, right, going to be, that's what the Rav said, that there's only going to be four of them, not the Trumat HaDeshen. Because Trumat HaDeshen was avodat siluk, not avodat matana. Va'avatem, when it says va'avatem, avodat tama, it has to be avodah shlema. Velo avodah sheyesh acharei avodah. But not an avodah that does have an avodah afterwards. Okay? Velevi, now according to Levi, he added in the Trumat HaDeshen. So why? Velevi, Rebbe Rachmana lechol davar mizbeach. Right? What's happening is that it's adding in anything to do with the mizbeach, that a person is going to be chayav mitah. So anything that has to do with the mizbeach, if a stranger does it, not a kohen, chayav mitah b'dei shamayim. So says the Gemara, V'Rav, according to Rav, what is lechol davar mizbeach coming to include? Ha'ulatu yesheva hazaot shebifnim v'shebemetzorah. It's coming to include the 7 hazaot, the sprinklings of the blood of the chataot pnimiyot, which is done on the parochet, and the 7 ones which are done from the metzorah. Okay, so it says, right, which is also done keneged bet kodesh kodashim. Okay, that's the pshat av lechol devar hamizbeach. Okay, which is part of the zrika, the sprinkling. Velevi nafkila midevar vechol davar. Meaning like this, Levi comes and he learns it, right, from the fact that when it says lamizbeach, that's already enough. So there's 2 ribuims, right? What are the 2 ribuims? One of them is from the word devar, and one of them is from the word kol devar, lechol devar hamizbeach. So therefore, the Trumat HaDeshen is already devar, and the kol devar is the 7 hazaot of the inside of the metzorah. Okay, they had to sprinkle it 7 times, sheva pamim. Okay, V'Rav, and according to Rav, why doesn't he learn this? Devar v'chol devar lo darish. He doesn't make this dirasha. Devar hamizbeach, lechol devar hamizbeach. Sometimes they don't like those dirashot that it's considered behemet, like extra, not extra. So therefore, he just said no, it doesn't work. So ask the Gemara, ve'ema lechol devar hamizbeach klal, avodat matana perat, kelal ufrat, em bichla b'kelal lemasha beprat. Which means like this. There's a concept of klal ufrat. Klal ufrat is when you have a general and then you have a specific. When it says lechol devar hamizbeach for anything that comes on the mizbeach, it's a general rule. It's general. It's not specific. It's everything in general. Lechol devar hamizbeach, anything to do with the mizbeach. When it says avodah matana, so avodah matana is a prat. It's coming to sink in, not sink in. It's coming to zoom in to tell us what exactly is on the mizbeach. Only avodah matana, the matano which come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Which one? Yes, the chol devar mizbeach is plural. Kol. That's why the first one. So he says klal ufrat, right? So he says, what is that? Em ba'kelal lemasha beprat. So therefore he comes that it's only in the prat. So avodah matana in, avodat siluk no. So it has to be avodah matana, not avodat siluk. So therefore that's why he's saying that the zar is going to be chayav mitah only in avodat matana and not the trumat HaDeshen. Okay? So says the Gemara, Hamakra, the pasuk says, Kavdalad Amud Bet 24b, Ulmi Bet la parochel vavatem. What does that mean? Bet la parochel vavatem. You're going to do the service. So therefore, since it's written immediately afterwards, the chol davar mizbeach unvel haparochet vavatem. So he says, El mibel haparochet hu avodat matana velo avodat siluk. He says it's going to be considered avodat matana and not avodat siluk. Habachutz afilu avodat siluk. But if it's going to be on the outside, so then even avodat siluk is going to be there. Which means if it's going to be on the outside, so then siluk is included. If it's going to be on the inside, so you're right. Anything to do with the inside, which is basically inside of the echal and the ulam, so that's going to be only avodah matana to exclude siluk. But on the outside, so then no, there it's going to be even the trumat hadeshen. So says the Gemara, Yihachi, if so, vavatem nami. The word of avatem should also be the exact same thing. El mi bela parochet hu da avodah tama v'lo avodah shesh achrei avodah. When it says mi bela parochet, it should be only something which is a complete thing, and not something which is going to have an avodah afterwards. Habachutz, but if it's going to be afterwards, right outside, so fil avodah shesh achrei avodah. Even an avodah that does have an avodah afterwards, which means it's not a complete melacha. So, for example, kabbalat adam, ve'olachat adam, right? That's also part of it. Remember, what do you do? There's shchita. We know shchita already is kasher bazar, right? We already learned that many times. Okay, so shchita could be done by a stranger, right? Now, what does the kohanim need to do? Kabbalat adam ve'elach. So they receive the blood, and then so kabbalat adam is one service. Yeah. Second service, holacha. They walk to the mizbeach. Third service, or this will be the fourth, because the first one is a shchita, but shchita is kasher bazar. So shchita, kabbalah, holacha, zrika. What is zrika? They sprinkle the blood. Either throwing the blood or sprinkling, depends which korbanot, depends how many, depends how many sprinklings, right?
Anything can be done, like the shchita, up to the point.
Exactly, the shchita. After that, that's it. The Kohen takes over. So now, even though there was a mitzvah to do it by the Kohen still, even though it could be done by a zar, there's still a mitzvah to do it by a Kohen. Yeah? So he says over here, so now if you're going to tell me now that vavatem is the same thing, so emmi bela parochet, if it's going to be on the inside of the parochet, meaning that it's going to be mamash on the inside, so then you would say it's only an avodah tamah, not avodah sheish avodah achareh. But if it's going to be on the outside, even an avodah that has an avodah achareh, for example, kabbalat adam, holachat adam, it has an avodah afterwards, and still, what are we going to say? It's still part of it. So therefore, why does Levi not also count these avodot that also he's going to be chayav mita? So says the Gemara, vavatem hadar arvekra. When it says the word vavatem, the pasuk came and put it all together again, which means it's kolel everything lechol dvar mizbeach. Va'avatem, vavachibur. So it's now coming. The words avodah matana was with vavachibur. Vavachibur connects. The word vav, it's like the letter vav is like and. When you say and something, it's connecting something beforehand. So he says the fact that it comes and it says by avodah matana, it wasn't written vav. So it's avodah matana. So there we learned it. But here it's written va'avatem. Once you have the vav, it mixes it up again together. Okay? So now it says the Gemara. Rava comes and he asks the following question. Yeah, and he says like this. He says, Avodat siluk ba'echal mau. What about when you're taking off the dishun of the mizbeach in the mizbeach hapnimi, or the dishun menorah? Remember, here we're talking about there are two mizbeachs, mizbeach hachitzon, mizbeach hapnimi, right? And they each had different names. So mizbeach hapnimi was mizbeach hazahav, right? Mizbeach hapnimi, mizbeach haketoret. The outside was mizbeach haolah, mizbeach hanechoshet, right? Mizbeach hachitzon. So each one had different names, either outer and inner, or to do with the main sacrifices. So the inner one was for the ketoret. The outer one was mizbach haolah. Also, what they were made out of. The outer one was made out of nechoshet.
Any kohen can do bocham?
Yes, any kohen, any kohen, any kohen,
time of the day.
anytime. Yeah, anytime. Obviously, there are certain times that they did, whether it's going to be the ketoret or things like that. And olah could be brought whenever they want, but the olah had to be done on the outside. Yeah, not on the inside. So meaning each mizbeach had their specialty in what they were doing.
Only outside.
So here it says that it's going to be, but there's going to be two things. There's two deshins. There's deshin on mizbeach hapnimi, plus there's the deshin of the menorah. The ashes of the menorah. They had to clean out the menorah, and then you also had on the outside. So you had both. Okay. So says the Gemara now, right, as follows. So by Rava avodat siluk beichal. So this is talking about the dishun mizbeach hapnimi, not the chitzoni, not the outer one, the inner one. Okay. So it says over here, what's halacha? Lifnim medaminale. Do we say that it's going to be avodat bifnim, which is anything to do with the kodesh kodeshim, and therefore en lezar chayav mitah? He's not going to be chayav mitah. Or lachutz, or we're going to say it's going to be an outside, and therefore he's going to be chayav mitah. So hada pashta. At the end, we did answer it up, and we said mibet ul mibet. What does that mean? It could have just written mi bet la parochet. Why did he say ul mi bet la parochet? So the fact that it said ul mi bet la parochet, it's coming to include the echal, to make the echal like the kodesh kodashim, which means also the avodot of the echal, the zar is going to be patur from chiyuv mitah if he did it, the avodat siluk. Okay, so basically, if a regular Jew runs inside of the Bet HaMikdash, he runs inside of the echal, and he empties out ashes from the mizbeach hapenimi, he's patur from mitah b'dei shamayim. Why? Because they learn ul mi bet la parochet. They learn that it's just like the kodesh kodashim. So says the Gemara, Ela me'ata. So now we're going to ask the following question: Zar shesider et hashulchan lechayev. Are you going to tell me that now a zar comes and he's going to be misader the shulchan? He's going to be right chayav, which means remember the zar is for the lechem hapanim, for the shulchan. So answers the Gemara, Ika sidur bazichin. There's after putting the lechem hapanim, there's a sidur bazichin. Since the sidur bazichin is an avodah afterwards, so we already learned that it's not avodah tamah. If it didn't finish it off, that's why he's not going to be chayav mitah, because of the bazichin. So now, what are the bazichin? I'm going to share with you my screen, right? And you're going to see the bazichin. Yeah, I'm gonna. Here, everyone sees it. These are the bazichin.
Yes.
Yes.
Right here, where the truth is I have to make my mouse bigger, but it's over here. Everyone sees the word bazichin, so it's right here. These two little tiny jugs. Okay?
Yes.
Stop share.
So bottom line is anybody can sadel shulchan.
It's not that they can, but if they did it, they're not chayav mitah.
But then
Not chayav mitah b'dei. No, for sure not. Just the punishment. We're only dealing with the punishment, not lechatchila, obviously. If they already did it,
avodat kohen,
yeah, 100%.
Anybody can start to do.
100%.
It's like the same thing that I know that the chor can wash the hands of the kohen.
So the Gemara asks, Sidur bazichin lechayev, right? He says, 1 second. So, okay, you're right. You answered up shulchan. Somebody came inside and they put the shulchan, they set up the shulchan. They're not going to be chayav mitah b'dei shamayim. Why? Because there's bazichin. Fine. So if the guy came and he put the bazichin, should be chayav mitah b'dei shamayim. Answers the Gemara, no. Ika siluk v'aktara. Afterwards, they used to take the beziche levuna. The bezichin was full of levuna, frankincense. And what that which was there, they used to take it off, and then they used to put it on the mizbeach. So therefore, you see from here that even the putting of the levuna is still not enough because you didn't finish. Remember, you only chayav mitah b'dei shamayim if you finish off the job. Here, they didn't finish off the job. Because the bazichin, they would still have to take it and bring it. Fine. So says the Gemara, fine. So zar shesideret menorah lechayev. The zar that comes and he sets up the menorah, he should be chayav. Okay? Again, I'm going to share the screen. You're going to see the... no, this is already the next one. Atzatat alita. Okay? But it's basically the... How do you call it? The menorah. So answers the Gemara, no, ikanetina petila, you have to put the wicks. Meaning, taking out the old wicks and putting oil or putting everything, but then afterwards you didn't put in the new wicks, you didn't do it. So fine, says the Gemara, you put the wicks, you should be chayav. So answers the Gemara, ikanetina shemen, yeah, but what about the oil? She said, okay, fine, so you put the oil, you should be chayav. Says, no, the lighting, ikad laka. So says the Gemara, okay, idlik lechayev. So let's say he did everything. He went, he took it out, he cleaned it, he put the oil, the wicks, now he lit it. It should be chayav. Answers the Gemara, adlaka lav avodahi. Adlaka is not an avodah. Meaning that's not an avodah. The adlaka itself is not considered an avodah, but it's an avodah shel mamash. It's not something tangible. It's not something mamash like that. So says the Gemara, lo? You're going to tell me that adlaka is not an avodah? But Tanya, we learned to the Braita. V'natenu b'nei Aaron hakohen esh al mizbeach v'chu yotzim al esh. Limed al atzatat alita shelo te'eh ela bekohen kasher v'kli sharet. Meaning, this is what I was showing you, right? Here, this is a picture. This is called atzatat alita. Here you have the wood. This is actually the manacha gdola. This is on the mizbeach. On the mizbeach, right, when you're going to come and light, right, this fire, it has to be at atzatat alita. This is where he's lighting it. It has to be the kosher kohen with kosher cloth, with kli sharet.
It's not right that somebody gonna come and
do it.
Clean.
No, but again, what we're trying to show though that it is considered an avodah. Once it's considered an avodah, if a regular zad is going to do it, meaning a regular person, he's going to be chayav mitah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. So, and then this is already for tomorrow. Lishkat Gazit. Okay. So says the Gemara, right? He says, Atzatat alita avodahi. Hadlaka over. He says, no, you're right. When you're going to come into the mizbeach and you're going to put up this big, huge fire, that is considered an avodah. So that has to be a kohen kasher and kli sharet. However, though, when you're just lighting the menorah, that's not an avodah shel ish v'melash. And therefore, if a regular zad is going to do it, he's not going to be chayav mitah. Again, only kohanim do it. But if a regular zad would come in and do it, he's not going to be chayav mitah b'dei shamayim. So says the Gemara, so now we're going to ask the following question. Zar shesideret maracha lechayev. The zar comes and he sets up the maracha on the mizbeach. Remember, all the wood and everything on the mizbeach. He should be chayav. And so the Gemara, no, ika sidush shnei etzim. You have the putting of the two etzim. So it's not an avodat tamah. Okay? So says the Gemara, fine. So sidush shnei gzirim should be chayav. Right? Because if you put the two extra pieces on top. So and says the Gemara, ika sidur evarim. No, you put the limbs on top. So says the Gemara, v'hamar Ravasi and Rabbi Yochanan, zar shesidesh nigzir chayav mitah. He is chayav mitah, because it is considered an avodat tamah. So says the Gemara, v'ha plige. This in essence is actually a machloket. More savar that it's considered avodat tamahi, or more savar avodat tamahi. So the machloket, is it considered avodat tamah or not considered an avodat tamah? Since it's a machloket, that's what that's the difference. Whether it's considered avodat tamah, a complete avodah or not. So says the Gemara, Tanya Kavateh de Rav, the Tanya Kavateh de Levi. We actually have a bright in accordance to Rav that if a Zad is going to do Trumat Hadesh, he's chayav mitah, and we have a bright like Levi that he's not going. That he, sorry, that he's going to. Sorry, Rav was that he's not chayav mitah, right? Because Rav only had 4 things. He didn't have the Trumat Hadesh. Levi said that it's Trumat Hadesh. We're going to learn a bright in accordance to each one. Tanya Kavateh de Rav. We have a bright in accordance to Rav that you're not going to be chayav mitah. These are the avodot shezeh chayav alei mitah. These are the avodot that if a stranger does, he's going to be chayav mitah. Zrikat adam, sprinkling of the blood on the mizbeach, does it right on the mizbeach achitzon, or the hazaot ben lifnim, doesn't matter whether it's on the echal or in the kodesh kodashim. Ve'amazeh bechatat haof, if he's going to sprinkle on the chatat haof, the blood of the chatat haof. Ve'amematzeh, or he's going to put the blood. Ve'amakti be'olat haof. Remember that by olat haof, it's not sprinkling, it's mitzui hadam. There's a difference by the right. There's a difference whether you sprinkle the blood or you press the body of the off after you cut off the head on the mizbeach, and that's called mitzui hadam. Or you're going to do the nisuch of 3 logs of water, or 3 logs of wine. All these things, right? And here it doesn't mention trumat hadeshin, so therefore it's mashma like Rav. The Tanya Kavateh de Levi, and we have a bright according to Levi. Avodot shezar chayav lemitah. The avodot which shezar is going to be chayav mitah. Hamerim et hadeshin. If somebody's going to come, they're going to be merimet hadeshin. The sheva zaot bifnim, and the seven sprinklings which are done on the inside. The sheva metzorah, or the metzorah, the 7 azaot of the metzorah. The ma'aleh al gabei mizbeach, for somebody that's going to come and bring things into the mizbeach. Ben davar kasher, ben davar pasul, whether it's something which is kasher or pasul, right? So says the Gemara, but here it's written in Furash. What did it say? Hamerimet hadeshin. But that means besides the sheva zaot and this and all these things. But he says the Trumat Hadeshin, Hamerimet Hadeshin, and it's going to be chayav mitah. So says the Gemara, right? So now it just comes out that we have a bright in accordance to both. So we don't have an answer. There's machloket, and we have a proof to both. And now we're going to continue.
But they have to have a gmul.
Of what? The Mishnah comes and it says at the end of the Mishnah, we spoke about the Kohanim. They used to gather together 4 times in the day to do a lottery, right? To know who's going to do. So says the Gemara, Lama mefaisin. Right? Why be'emet did they do goralot for the Kohanim? Why did they do lotteries? Says the Gemara, Lama mefaisin? He already said it. You remember it came into sakana twice. One guy had his leg broken, and the other guy was stabbed to death. What, you're not going to do lotteries? So says the Gemara, no. Why do you do it 4 different times? Saying it only makes sense to do a lottery at the beginning. Why are you doing the lottery so many different times? So answers the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan, kedei largish kol ha'azara, in order to cause a whole bunch of noise in the azara a few times during the day. That's the kavod of Hashem. Shneimar asher yachtav namtik sod, bevet Elokim nalech beragesh. In the house of God, we have to go with fear, right? So because of that, it says that we want that all of a sudden all the Kohanim come together, lottery. A little bit later on, again, all the Kohanim together, lottery, and there's noise, and there's this. That's what we want. So says the Gemara, B'mem Paisan, how do they do it? Right? What were they wearing when they did it? Were they wearing the regular weekday clothing, or were they wearing bigdei kiuna? So Rav Nachman says they were doing bigdei chol, right? And Rav Sheshat says bigdei kodesh. Rav Nachman says bigdei chol. Ti amarta, but if you're going to tell bigdei kodesh, ika baalei zroot decham seveadbe. You have baalei zroa, right? Which they could jump up and they could do the avodah, right? Even though they weren't zocheh. Which means if you're going to tell me it's bigdei kodesh, it's a problem. Because imagine, like what we said before, you're going to have some people, they're powerful. What do you mean they're powerful? This thing of power always was, so they're anashim alimim. So they come and they take it by force. So purposely, says Rav Nachman, in order to stop them taking it by force, everyone had to be wearing bigdei chol. So it couldn't be that all of a sudden they have bigdei kodesh. Where are you going? I'm doing the service. We have a lottery. They didn't care. So because of that, everybody's bigdei chol. Yeah, to stop them. Rav Sheshet says, no, bigdei kodesh. If you're going to tell me bigdei chol, agav chavivute mikra v'avdi, it could be that because of the chavivut of the avodah, he's going to run up without even putting on bigdei keuna. They have to be ready for the bigdei keuna, so they have to put it on bigdei keuna, and then they come up. So Amar of Nachman says of Nachman, how do I know this? That they were wearing bigdei chol. The Tanam, as we learned in the Mishnah, mesarun lachazanim. After the Richat Pais, they would come and give the Kohanim to the Shamashim. They used to take off their clothing. They only put on their pants. Yeah? Kafei Amud Aleph. My love, are we not talking about Beotan Shezachuliv? Obviously, we're talking about the ones that they were Zocheh and to do the lottery. No. Beotan Shelo Zachuliv. We're talking about the ones that they weren't Zocheh. Okay? Hachinami Misabra, it's also logical. These are, but if you're going to tell me Beotan Shezachuliv Fais, what they wouldn't put on the pants? But Tanya, we learned, how do we know that there cannot be something before the pants? The first thing that they put on is the pants. So the pants was the first clothing that they put on beforehand, and then Bezat Hashem we continue tomorrow about the differences and everything. Okay? Bezat Hashem. Have a wonderful day.